So welcome to Bristol Small Business Show. I'm Kevin Gammy. I've got with me today Katrina Haynes of HR Matters. How you doing, Katrina?
Well, I'm really well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me.
That's okay. It's our pleasure. We've been talking before the show, and that's why we're a couple of seconds late. We do apologise for that, but Katrina is really, really knowledgeable in this HR space. I've known her for years and years and years. In fact, I knew her before she had her own consultancy. So, Katrina, I want you to tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So as I heard, I'm HR consultant. I work with small and medium-sized businesses, working with people to minimise risk and maximise performance. As Kevin said, my previous life prior to having my own consulting business, I was HR manager in the professional services space for a really long time, and I've worked with a number of different industries as well. Right now, my focus is really about two aspects. One, about helping people be compliant with the ever-changing world of HR and legislation and fair work, and the second one is really around helping people continue to have really high performing teams and strong cultures during what's a really difficult, challenging time for some.
Absolutely. Now, and we one of the discussions that we were having was some of the stuff that you went, oh look, I just kind of and I went, hang on, stop. That's the stuff that's really critically important right now.
Yeah, that's right.
But let's start with what you call the basics. What do you cover? You got 5 tips. The basics. What's involved?
So 5 tips, managing remote teams. So a lot of us are working from home now. We've got our teams spread out geographically. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit tricky. So the basics are really around making sure you set up right. And, obviously I think everyone's pretty across technology. We've all got videos and meetings and chats and stuff like that. But there's a couple of other things that business owners really need to be aware of. And one of the main ones is around workplace health and safety. Even though your staff are working from home, their home is in a sense an extension of the workplace. You are still responsible for their workplace health and safety at home. It's important that you know that they're actually working in a safe manner. So sitting on the lounge with the laptop, Netflix on, whilst that might look like fun for some, it's full of dangers. They can get up and trip over that blanket on their lap. They can do their back in. The dog comes in. There's all of those different things there. That's not the safest place. And if something like that happens, that's a work cover claim for you and your business. So it's really critical. One thing I'm telling everyone is make sure that your employees have completed a workplace health and safety checklist. I've got one for free on my website that you can go download easily, just to make sure that you know that they're actually set up properly. And I always say, make sure they attach photos. It's all lovely to sit and fill in the checklist. Get them to send some pictures in of what their setup looks like. And if they need some assistance with anything ergonomic or setup, hey, look, a lot of people have empty offices right now. It's okay if you're comfortable with them borrowing that nice work chair, the headset for their phone, so they're not doing this when they're on the phone to clients. Having everything set up, that's a really good thing for you to do. Because as I said, you're still responsible for their safety at their home office.
Yeah, so that is something that I think is really important and largely overlooked by a lot of people. In fact, I overlooked it, didn't even think about it until someone said, hey, that's your responsibility. And I thought, oh, my goodness. So, what if they get up, they fall over the dog and break their arm? All of a sudden, that's my fault.
That's it. Exactly.
And worse. Look, we do have industrial manslaughter and all that sort of stuff. We can talk about, real dangers there. So as much as it's something that's kind of a throwaway, it's something really, really critically important.
It is.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is on the compliance side of things is around fair work. So as I said before, so many changes. Like we will want to be good managers. We want to be flexible. We want to be able to put in place, different ways of working. But you still need to make sure you're keeping your obligations with regards to the relevant award that governs your employees. And so that could be things like, thankfully Fair Work, they've been making a lot of changes every day. So working hours, for example. For some awards, if people were starting early, finishing late, working weekends, because, people are working from home around kids and other commitments and stuff like that, you have to be a little bit flexible there. But there were some penalties around if your staff are working those hours, that penalty rates might apply. But thankfully, some of the awards have changed. So you need to go in, check what your award says, check for the updates, and make sure you're still paying your staff correctly. Make sure you're still keeping all your obligations if you have the lovely new annualized salary arrangements around timekeeping and stuff like that. Can't let that slide just because you're working from home.
At the same time, there have also been some some, what's the word I'm looking for?
Updates and amendments to the award.
Some amendments been made.
Absolutely.
Amendments is such a hard word. And it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. Tune in for the 4 o'clock session. It's going to be awesome. There have been some amendments made around the salary that you are paying people, because the world is, in a bit more in a different place, and there are more challenges around that. And if you have had to amend salaries downward, that is okay, and that has been. Make sure you've looked up the award and you are covered. It's really important that people are covering themselves on these things.
And can I say on that front, make sure you got the right paperwork too. It's critical that you've done it the right way, the right paperwork, and you have that paper trail behind you, because that's what protects you as a business owner in making sure that you've done the right thing.
And we've only allowed really 10 to 15 minutes for this, and don't have time for this right now. So Katrina is building a webinar around this. Like she said to me, hey, I'll just do the get the basics out the way. And I went, hang on. This is really important stuff. And most of us don't know about it. As I said, until someone challenged me about it in one of our preambles, I went, oh my God. All of a sudden, I realized how serious this stuff was. And because we've all migrated home quite often very, very quickly, and without forethought, because, hey, the government didn't tell us we're going to get 3 months to get people home. It's all just happened all of a sudden. So please think about those issues. Have a chat. Katrina's got a download.
Yep.
Get that. hrmatters.com.au, I'm assuming.
That's correct.
Hey, good guess there. Okay, so now that we've got the basics out the way, and we can throw those away after Katrina's webinar.
That's right. Join with the webinar first.
What's the next one?
All right, communication. So, gosh, communication, it's so, we used to take it for granted. We'd be able to pop into someone's office, face-to-face body language. That's all gone. So we really need to be mindful of how we're communicating with people, and still maintaining regular communication as well. We don't want to just leave people sitting at home festering by themselves. So, I'm recommending things like, make sure you're still having a weekly team meeting. Make sure you're still having one-to-ones with your staff members. Do that via video. Don't just not a phone call. There's so many video technology. Jump in and use that. That face-to-face is really, really important. And being mindful of how you're communicating with people. If you're sending a message or a chat or an email, there's no tone in that. I think now's the time. We've always used to say, don't put emojis or anything like that in messages. Well, I'm saying now, that's our main way of communicating. Throw them in. Let people understand how you're feeling. But pick up the phone. Join a video call for those important conversations, and make sure you're still having them as well. And, one of the other things I've seen some people doing is having those open chat channels. So something like Slack or something like that, where people can just ping messages to each other on a regular basis. That replicates, in a sense, that office environment where you can just say, hey, can anyone help me with this? And get a fairly quick response back. So really look at different ways that you can communicate, but keep that focus on doing it regularly, doing it face-to-face as such where you possibly can, and really being mindful of different people's communication styles. So what works for you might not work for someone else. And I do a lot of work with clients about understanding different communication styles. It's really critical you understand that so you can communicate effectively and minimize any miscommunication and angst that could come out of that.
And that is absolutely so important, because like 70% of how we perceive communication is actually visual. So if there is no visual, all of a sudden everything else is highlighted. The problem with that being, particularly if you're going to have a throwaway, off-the-cuff, humorous line, the other person reading it may not read it that way.
Exactly.
And they go, oh my God, this was, and so be a bit mindful of that. Don't lose your personality at this time, please. Just make sure you do a bit more video and stuff like that. Reach out. Look, I do want to say on the technology side, if you're running Office 365 with your team, but you haven't got into Teams yet, call up your IT provider, or, we spoke to Tom Frere and Ambient IT, both about Office Teams, and it can replace a whole lot of the other stuff that you're probably paying extra money for, and per license users and that sort of stuff. You already got that covered. So look into that, and that'll save you a fortune. Point number 3.
All right, changing how you manage. So it's not business as usual. This is the new normal, as I'm calling it. So flexibility is really key. We spoke about this before. People are working from home around partners working from home, kids being home from school, dogs, life, everything else that goes on. It's, it's really challenging as well. So the expectation that everyone can log on and work from 8:30 to 5 really sort of does need to be a little bit reviewed. Have one-on-one conversations with your team members about what works for them and what will work for your business, and come to a mutual agreement around that. Core business hours, you might have to set some core hours that everyone's online to meet client needs, but at the same time, you also need to understand that people, there's so many other demands pulling on us when we're in that home environment right now. Let's have a bit of flexibility around that. And likewise about KPIs and measuring performance too. We can't sit there and measure performance on attendance. We never should anyway. But, it's now really just a whole nother topic. But reviewing your KPIs that you have in place, what you set at the beginning of the year will not be relevant right now.
And here's what I think we've got an awesome opportunity, because we're not physically present with everyone that's working, all of a sudden it forces us to have our KPIs in the results that are performed, not in the attendance.
Exactly.
And here's an awesome opportunity for that great mind shift of let's be measuring on productivity, not on hours.
Exactly.
Yeah?
That's right. And
so really important thing.
Do that. It's very important. All right.
Cool. So, another one of those, let's go back to those throwaway lines.
It's not a throwaway line. It's a really important one. It's a really important one. Point number 4, mental health. Let's talk about mental health. It's not a throwaway. Mental health is so important right now. And, the government, thankfully, is putting a lot of money into resources to help people around mental health, because, there's a lot of research. 1 in 5 people will experience a mental health issue. 60% of people are mentally strong, but we are not in normal circumstances. So for everyone is going to suffer a bit of a dent to their mental health over this point in time. So it's really important as business owners that we are, helping to create a positive, strong mental health environment. And that, is through things like making sure that our staff are aware of those resources that are out there: Lifeline, Beyond Blue, DV Connect, promoting those with your teams, making them available on your intranet.
Sorry, you said all those really fast.
Okay,
so
Lifeline.
Beyond Blue.
Yep, Beyond Blue. Lifeline.
Yeah.
DV Connect.
Who's DV Connect? Never heard of it.
Domestic Violence Connect. So they have a helpline for women. They have a helpline for men. They have 2 separate ones. Because right now, and unfortunately for some people, work was a safe place to go, and home is not a safe place for them. So when we take people out of that work environment, they are a little bit more at risk, some people. So if we can make sure that as an employer that we're helping our staff through making them aware that these resources are available for them, that's a little bit that we can do for that, because no longer are they in that safe environment of the office or the workplace. They're at home. So how can we point them in the right direction and make sure they have access to everything as well?
There's also another government site called Heads Up, I think it is. And Heads Up is kind of like an amalgam of your Beyond Blue and Lifeline and a few others that have all supporting putting information in. They've got information that is specific for small business owners. So Heads Up is another good resource. We will, Katrina and I both will put some resources down below in the feed when we get off here, because this is a really particular, it's a bit of a passion project for me. This is something that I understand that people can be really triggered, get really high anxiety, not be sleeping well, all that sort of stuff. All of this builds up, and just the unknown triggers a whole lot of people. And right now we're in a stage of really high unknowns about what the future is going to look like. Is it going to be the same as the past? Is it going to be different? If so, how? How's that going to affect my business? And that's why we're talking with a range of everybody that can help businesses, HR professionals, accountants, lawyers, even some mental health people. So, marketers and everyone else. So it's really important that you get right across all of these things and start considering who can be there to help you.
Absolutely.
So sorry about that. So you're gonna put the links to the ones.
I will. I'll pop those links through once this goes up. Absolutely.
I'll encourage you to do more than just one comment, to do a series of them. So
that's fine.
Otherwise, it'll be one. Otherwise, you'll actually have a blog comment.
Yes.
And that would be helpful. And one final part.
Yes. So the last part is about being optimistic, and this links to mental health as well. But we are in uncertain times, but let's look at this. We're all going to get through this, and the power of working together through groups like Brisbane Small Business, through our own businesses and the networks that we have, is going to enable us to come through the other side in some way, shape or form. So for many businesses, it is just about actually how can we use this time as an opportunity to come out the other side in a better, stronger position, and even looking a bit different. And from a perspective of your team, it's really important to have optimistic conversations. And so optimistic is about that hope for a better future. So sitting down with your team in your weekly team meeting and talking about, okay, what do we think we could do differently in this area of our business? How can we, when things are back to normal, operate in this different way? Having those types of, optimistic based conversations gives your staff something to look forward to, and that helps them with their mental health. It also helps them feel connected and involved with your business. And there's so much research that show that those employees who are really connected with and aligned to your business strategy and what you're doing are going to be your best high performing employees, and that will make your business more successful. So every opportunity you have to get those people involved and have those optimistic forward planning conversations, you should grab those.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me that there's three things employees want, and and they want to know that they matter, right? And like when we talk about being optimistic, we're not talking about blind optimism and and hopeless gleefulness and all that sort of stuff. We're talking about looking forward.
That's right.
And being positive and looking for the positive and the opportunities that you've got. Yesterday I was talking a thing about gifts wrapped in crap. And we've got one right now. Okay, we've got a little bit more time to do that. I was reading somebody's post on Facebook the other day, one of my friends, and he was complaining about, hey, even the cars seem to be social distancing and slowing down. And I think the world is actually just getting that little bit more relaxed. Okay. If you look up at night, you'll notice a few more stars in the sky because there's less pollution, because we've had less traffic, we've had less planes flying around, so there's a whole lot of different things. The world's in a slightly different place, so utilize that. Make sure that your team know that individually they matter, that they're doing something, and you as a company are doing something meaningful, and that you're offering them an opportunity or a challenge to look for ways that they can improve what they're doing so that it is more effective and efficient as well. So, 5 great points. The basics, we talked about tech, WHS, and Fair Work, making sure that you're being both compliant as well as you're operating smoothly there. The communication and make sure you're communicating with people differently and giving a little bit more attention to those that need it. Your management style, that's changing. We are online, so make sure that you're using an appropriate style for online. Help look after the mental health of your team. It is your responsibility. So as a leader of the organisation, there are plenty of resources, and we'll put some of those links down below. And finally, 5, stay optimistic. Look, these are, hey, we're headed for some tough times, no doubt about that. But that doesn't mean it has to be all doom and gloom. Within those tough times, there are going to be opportunities created for all businesses. If you're looking for the opportunities, you're more likely to find them than if you're just sitting there complaining about, woe is me, I've lost a handful of clients or whatever else. So absolutely, the government is here to support you, and they are supporting all businesses. So please remember that, and look for how you can support your team better so that they can do a better job. Absolutely,
that's right.
That's what Katrina's really great at. She's actually great at bringing out the best in your team so they can be more productive. So Katrina's going to put a link down. She's going to create some webinars. We were chatting about this earlier, and she went, Oh, that'd be a great idea.
Kevin's a great coach.
She was well down the path already on a couple, but we gave her ideas of a couple more, because this is information that Katrina's in every day. So she thinks the basics, but the basics are actually core business for all of us. So, she does have a wealth of knowledge in this area, is really great at what she does. She's a pleasure to speak to. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thanks so much, Kevin, for having me.
That's okay. We'll catch you all later. Bye.
Bye.